Humanity is on the cusp of a colossal shift in understanding, one that will completely rewrite our relationship with reality itself. I'm Leanne Rose, psychotherapist, advisor to some of the world's most influential leaders, and the channel for a structural intelligence known as the Galayla Collective. On this podcast, we explore what becomes possible when consciousness is understood not as a byproduct of the brain, but as the fundamental substance of the universe itself, capable of completely reshaping the material world we live in. Welcome to Consciousness First. Hello, my loves, and welcome back. In today's episode, the Galayla Collective are going to be sharing their views on wealth creation from this Consciousness First perspective. So let's dive in. Hello, dear souls. So, wealth creation at super consciousness level. Such a juicy topic that we know many of you will be incredibly interested in. And those that are feigning this interest, we know there is some part of you that wants to know more. Now, let us first talk about humanity's relationship to money. Now, individual aspects of source are coded with illusion with every single aspect of reality that there is. The two core ways that illusion plays out with relationship to money is either people are hyper-dependent upon it or want to push it as far away as possible. Money is not related to worth, as is often misrepresented in online spaces. Money actually is fundamentally related to the frequency of the ability to resource the self. This is what money actually represents. Now, of course, wealth is much bigger than just your relationship with money. Much bigger, which most people do not understand. And this is why they find it hard to either make huge amounts of wealth or retain it, because their relationship to it is narrow-minded. But let us first begin with humanity's relationship to money. And we are going to start with those of you that are codependent with money. This idea that if I am not making large amounts of this, if this does not feel like there is huge amounts of this in my bank account or readily available to me, then I cannot be happy. And this runs as an undercurrent in the system over and over and over and over and over and over and over. And even those of you that have huge amounts of wealth, it still never feels quite enough. Because the fundamental frequency you are moving from is rooted in lack. And as long as you are moving from this frequency, this dependency on money to make you happy, you will never make enough to make you happy. And even if you do make enough that makes you feel somewhat happy, there will be this constant threat that it will be taken from you. Therefore, you will never actually be able to relax into it, which means that you will not be able to hold large amounts of wealth, because internal reality creates external world, and eventually you will manifest the reality in which your money is taken from you. This is why we see many individuals that make huge amounts of wealth and lose it repeatedly. This is a frequency experience that is manifesting in physical form. Now, there are those of you in spiritual circles, more so, that have demonized money in the same way that you have demonized their dimensional ego. This is the part of you that is focused in the illusion of separation from source. And you have got on your righteous pedestal and labeled some things of source and some things not. But the truth is, all is source, dear ones. All is consciousness. All is simply energy. And it is your relationship to these energetic signatures that matters more than the signatures themselves. There are those of you that would choose to be without money and will judge those that chase it. In your righteous high horse castles that say, I do not crave money, I am better than you. You do not need us to name why this is unhelpful. You will be able to feel it in your bones as we speak. For these two polar opposites are both stemmed from the illusion of separation. This is at the heart of the consciousness first perspective. All is one. The idea that you have ever been separate from all that you need, from all that you are as the infinite, is illusion. The game of third dimensional reality is about collapsing that illusion piece by piece. Why? Because you are playing one giant, colossal game of hide and seek with yourself as consciousness. It is such a juicy journey. In order for you to fully experience the infinite self, you have created this idea, this illusionary experience where you are separated from the self, from the infinite that you are, the infinite abundance, the infinite pleasure, infinite joy, infinite play. Money is a beautiful way that this plays out. For money is the ability to resource self. Your relationship to money is fundamentally about your relationship with yourself as source. And so many people question, then why are there so many people in power who we do not deem to be, quote unquote, good people, that hold huge amounts of wealth? Because it is not as simple as those that embody more goodness hold more of the resources. The game would not be interesting if this were the case. The reason many individuals hold huge amounts of wealth is because of their ability to trust themselves infinitely. Some may call this narcissism. But realistically, this is simply energy that has a defined central center point and trusts itself to gravitate energy towards it. These individuals are hardworking and at times can be ruthless. That does not mean to say that this is a good thing, or that it should be practiced, or that it is true wealth. What is important for you to know is that these individuals are often experiencing hell on earth. For even if they do hold huge amounts of physical resources, the energetic undertone that they create these resources from, i.e. lack, scarcity, greed, quite often, still fundamentally is rooted in the separation from source. And this will be felt in the system. This is why wealth is so much bigger than just your connection to physical resources. These individuals quite often feel like the loneliest on the planet, isolated from many around them for their own ruthlessness in how they treat others is carried with them in every single relationship they experience. So although they can trust themselves to resource, at 3D level, they cannot trust themselves to open to wider connection and to allow deeper love, deeper intimacy in. And quite often, these are the most loneliest people alive. So let us flip this on its head. There are many individuals that do not hold huge amounts of wealth. And again, this is also indicative in collective aspects of humanity itself, collective cultural groups. They may not hold huge amounts of physical resources, but there are wealth in other areas that they are abundant in, such as family connection, community, culture, heritage. Wealth comes in many different forms. And it is your relationship to it that allows you to access more of it. When you can fundamentally see that all you desire exists in this now moment, you are divinely wealthy. This is where the practice of gratitude comes in. Now, gratitude has become somewhat disrupted in its energetic potency. There is nothing wrong with this. It is simply that there are higher levels of awareness coming online at the collective level that are now becoming available to you. But gratitude fundamentally is about giving thanks for what is. Now let us condense this down to the truth that reality is simply an extension of this now moment. Your energetic set point in this now moment. The energetic set point that gratitude creates is the frequency of I am resourced in the now. This is why a gratitude practice then ripples out to create a reality where more abundance appears. Because you are focused in the frequency of abundance exists in the now. As superconsciousness comes more and more online at the collective level, as this consciousness-first approach to life really begins to embed itself and to awaken inside each and every one of you, true wealth, the connection to true wealth, will become more and more important. We are already beginning to see those structures, those individuals that have been corrupt in nature, starting to be called out. Their systems are beginning to break down. But if you are wanting to create real wealth in the coming decades, centuries, millennia, the true route into this is to remember that wealth is created internally, because reality is created internally. When you can learn to focus on where you are already wealthy in the now, it is law that reality must shift to meet you. Now, what is important about this collective up level into superconsciousness is this connection to oneness. At the core understanding of this consciousness-first approach is the idea that all is one. And source is always serving source. Up to this point, it was of service that huge amounts of contrast be apparent for individuals to play in around wealth divides. But the set point is turning. And over the next millennia, those that seek to hoard wealth, as opposed to pour abundance into the collective to serve at the collective level, will be called out far more ferociously than they have done in earlier set points. Why? because consciousness is awakening to itself, meaning that you will no longer be able to be as ruthless as you have maybe been in the past without consequences to it. Now, it is important for those of you who have been practicing what we call victim consciousness to also awaken to your power within your own ability to create wealth from the inside out. Whilst it is important for those who are concentrating on hoarding wealth to release some of this, what it is important for you to concentrate on is your inner power to generate wealth. As long as you are blaming the world around you for why you are not wealthy now, you are animating the set point of I am not wealthy now. That does not mean that we want you to ignore the thoughts and feelings that come from the sacred rage of your human. All these pieces are still valid, viable, and important for you to move through, to process, to express, to connect with other beings around. This is a point of connection. It is a point of wealth. As you establish more and more of your collective cultural power. But it is also essential that you honor the radical responsibility piece that says, I am the creator of my reality, and if I want to experience more wealth, then I must become attuned to where wealth already exists right now. And I must allow that to become my dominant focus, because internal reality creates external world. And if I am placing too much focus on where I am not resourced, on where I am without wealth, on where I am the victim, as opposed to consciousness itself playing with itself from infinite angles, then I am not actually animating the powers inside of me that allow the reality where I am wealthy in all the areas I desire to be to actually come online. It is my responsibility to animate those pieces. It is my gift to be able to animate those pieces. And in fact, the contrast that I have experienced actually allows me to anchor into greater levels of gratitude. Let us think about this for a moment. Those who grew up with a silver spoon in their mouth, who did not have to deal with much hardship in life, find it incredibly difficult to go out into the adult world and survive. Why? Because they have not been given the gift of contrast to build resilience, to build up the idea of being without something so they could really and truly value the presence of something, no matter how small. Those that have grown up very much like the girl in very, very difficult childhood circumstances, your systems were preparing you for deep, deep, deep grounded, elevated levels of consciousness in the system. For when you are put through your paces as a child, you are already expanded into wider realms of consciousness without ever even having to think about it, because these became a natural part of your survival process. You naturally began to look for ways to feel better with less physical things around you. Those of you that did not receive huge amounts of love, naturally, you allowed yourself to go looking for love in the smallest inkling corners of the world around you, and you allowed it to be enough. Now, these foundational skill sets were survival-based, dear ones. But as you expand your awareness into the truth that you are consciousness itself, these become lived, energetic, architectural structures in your third-dimensional system that you can actually amplify. And these pieces then become your huge anchor points into your power. which many of you have experienced in subtle ways. But when you really allow your full identity as consciousness to merge with this, when you are able to see the full timeline of your life with no accidents, no coincidences, and you can honor the rage of what existed, but also see the much bigger picture that is actually unfolding, that you are consciousness itself, exploring itself from infinite angles, gifting itself the experience of contrast in order for you to experience greater levels of connection to your infinite self as unconditional love and as raw creative power. The more you begin to view life from this level and feel it in your bones as we speak, remember these are living transmissions of remembrance. This is not just information. This is a living, breathing transmission designed to wake up this level of awareness within you. Breathe into this truth and allow your system to relax in to the truth that you have always been divinely supported. That the fire within your belly to transform things is simply the activation of your power coming online. But this is not about moving from the human third dimensional level. It is about reconnecting to who you are as energy itself and sourcing power from this state. For when you source power from source level, you are unstoppable. And this is what will create the divine wealth across all layers of life that you crave, not just in your bank account, but in your body, in your relationships, in your family structures, in your businesses, in the way that you are engaging with the world itself. This is true wealth, dear ones. It is time to think so much bigger than just your relationship to money. Sending you oodles of love. Goodbye for now. All right, my loves. So, just a closing note from me on that one of the really interesting things that I discovered on this journey. I grew up as a child in foster care, very poor family, but I experienced different levels of wealth in different foster families. But one of the things that I've discovered from working in my company and working with Hollywood actresses and self-made multimillionaires and people that are doing incredibly well is that money really isn't the answer to everything. And we like to think that it is. We like to focus on that as, when I just have more money, I'll be happier. And the truth is, you're just running from yourself. Because some of the most unhappy people I have met are some of the richest in the world. And what I've found is that frequency of lack that they build in to creating their wealth, to creating their empires, actually amplifies the more money that they create. So what you really want to be asking yourself is not how much money can I make, but is how can I be fulfilled in this now moment with everything that's already available to me? When you pair that with the truth that internal reality creates external world, you're going to watch life respond to you with that new level of abundance that you've built in simply by shifting your perspective. That's what's changed my life. And my bank account reflects it. All right, my loves, we're going to end this one here. Sending you oodles of love. We'll see you in the next one. Bye. Thanks for listening, my loves. The GC would love to share this information as far and wide as possible. So if you leave us a review and tag us on social media, we would love to give you access to one of our favorite immersive experiences. This is a huge favorite amongst our clients, and it's been at the heart of many of our most insane client results, and my own, to be honest. You can find out more about that in the show notes below. Oodles of love. We'll see you next time.